Is it 10 seconds? On the bottom of those shoulders. Okay. Hi guys, welcome to Fitness Aces, a weekly live stream program tailored to help you reach your maximum level of fitness and physical abilities. I'm Dio Miranda. I am the fitness professional, corrective high performance exercise kinesiologist, working with the mind and the body at the Austin Tennis Academy. Welcome.
Hi guys, I'm Mike Kelly. I'm the lead strength and conditioning coach at Soto Tennis Academy in Soto Grande, Spain.
And I'm Josh Rifkin, a master tennis performance specialist, also a tennis coach with Dio at the Austin Tennis Academy. Welcome to Fitness Aces, where we're going to be showing you different fitness exercises or drills in different areas, mainly injury prevention and activation, strength and power, with regressions and progressions to help you improve regardless of your experience or your physical level. So I think Dio's starting it off today with injury prevention and activation.
Awesome, guys. Hi, guys. Well, one of the things I was thinking too much about this thing, but I want to keep it really simple for you coaches and players of all levels and ages out there. Sometimes, or many times, when we feel this pain that we don't have any explanation for, your description is you feel it deep, or it shoots around the arm, it shoots around the leg, and you begin to pretty much everybody goes to ice, right, and do different things. So I want to bring some movements for you today that has to do with flossing the nerve, not stretching, because many times when you feel discomfort, in this case on the shoulder, that's for the radial nerve. People tend to stretch the area and kill it, right? Because nerves are not meant to be stretched; they're meant to be floss, right? So this particular movement that I'm showing you at the beginning is for your radial nerve, right? And you can do this movement even if you have a pain or discomfort, but also if you don't have it, just as a mobilization program for your body to get ready for the game. Many times we forget about the nerve, and the nerve are actually our electrical system. It's really what move your muscles and your body. I'll show you different variations here. I went from the femoral nerve, which is in front of the leg, is the one I showed you before this. I'll show you in a little bit, it's coming. And then I went to the sciatic nerve, the famous one, right? I feel this pain by my butt, and it goes down the leg, and I kind of figured out what it is, And there's many times where just these simple movements, it flows the nerve in their pathway, just in the canal, without stretching it. That's really important, without stretching it, because many times, and I keep repeating myself because it's really important, many times when we feel pain, we go and stretch it to the point that we kill the area. So these are movements that you can learn. That's for your shoulder, the first one. The second one is from the front of the leg for the femoral nerve. And the second one, and the third one, it's the sciatic nerve, which is the most famous one. This is cool. I'm glad we brought it up because, many times but we don't know what to do when we have things that we don't even know how to describe. So nerve usually is described with like is shooting somewhere else, right? Is shooting somewhere else. Let's keep it really basic today. So you feel on the shoulder. If you feel something on the shoulder, but you also feel something on your elbow and in your hand, and these are movements that you can do for yourself. And they come from your house or before you play a match and stuff like that. So once again, floss the nerve, don't stretch it. All right. If you're confused, just move the nerve around the area and then go do your thing. What do you guys think?
It's really cool. Really cool. I mean, nerves, many times, as you said, like it's that unknown pain or that unknown tightness or that unknown muscle spasm. So if you're someone who's like, my hamstrings are tight, I feel this in the back deep of my thigh, and you're just cranking on hamstrings or stretching hamstrings all the time, and you don't seem to get relief, doing that last one you did, that sciatic nerve floss, might help to loosen up some of that signaling to calm the hamstring down, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just the nerve is compressed a little bit. So it's definitely something to take note of if stretching or mobility seems to be kind of hitting a wall, and that pain is, as Dio was saying, deeper or kind of shooting or dull underneath where you can't really figure out how to stretch it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's cool, these other movements, Dio, like you're moving the joints like together. So you're not only allowing the nerve to move a little bit better and send the better signal, but I mean, secondarily, not the main focus, you're getting some joint mobilization, right? Like
Oh,
you're getting
sure.
your neck rotation, you're getting shoulder mobility, you're getting knee joint movement, ankle dorsiflexion that we did in the first week. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of little things happening where the nerves are being pulled through that system to help loosen them up a
Yeah.
little bit. And
Yeah. Yeah.
tennis athletes, man, how many do we see, Dio, with that wrist or elbow, maybe even the shoulder, but the wrist and elbow
Way too
pain, and
many.
it's due to some sort of neck shoulder compression of the nerve.
Yeah. Way too many. There's also, as we know, you can go on and on. There's also a ways to create tension within the same areas, right? Different movements that also that person might need. And not to get super specific on this call, but I mean, there's always so many things. We're just showing you a little bit, and coaches, as you get to know your athletes and what they feel and the different things, right? Then you might try to do some things like this. So,
Awesome,
and
Dio.
going back to what you say about the increasing and decreasing joints, well, it's one body, right? And you see how we all work together with the muscle, the nerve, the bones moving. Like we're one body. There's no segmentation here. It is in a way, but it's with the intention of moving forward as one body. So, Mike, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, the hamstring neural floss is one that we use quite a bit at the academy. I've never actually used the radial one, but it looks awesome. Yeah, because we get so many players. Obviously, we have 3 hard courts, 3 clear courts. So we do get issues with wrists and elbows, especially when they've spent a lot of time on one surface and then they go to the other. It's just obviously if they go into the clear, they're trying to put a little bit more spin onto the ball and things like that as well. So when we see things like elbow and wrists, it's having things like that to go to, which is awesome, amazing. In terms of when people can actually include these, is there a specific time that you guys would add them into a session? Would it be during the warm up? Would it just be in their own time when they've got free time? How would you guys like explain to
Yeah,
the viewers at home how to use them?
yeah. I am a huge fan of doing things at night before you go to bed. I think you get a lot of benefit from that because the brain is also recording as we move. But and then you go like 20 to 25 repetitions of these movements. But of course, you can do it before you go into serve. You can use it as a mobilization thing, but you know what you're doing. And you brought up something really important. Which it happens many, many, many times. Where we change grips or when we practicing a new serve and stuff like that. These are little things that are really powerful to help your athletes understand themselves and to give them something so they can break even, right? All these things, movements, your brain is not used to it. You're opening pathways as you go. So it's really good to have some, different movements here and there that the athlete can rely on, and have some tools in their box. So what time you do these things, Josh? Like before, after? It can vary, but what's your take on it?
Yeah. Depending on, I'm going to build on 2 thoughts that you were just talking about too, and Mike made me think of the one, and you built on it, and it's I'm mostly going to use these part of a mobilization for someone pre-training or workout session with me or before tennis. So maybe there's a specific targeted area that needs like a soft tissue release or a specific dynamic stretch, let's say, and then I would go into this nerve floss or neural mobilization when the tissue's a little bit more calm and that nerve can maybe move a little more freely. Because sometimes the first few reps with this, guys, it's kind of like you might get those symptoms of that pulling or the shooting, but when you're going through these and moving through them, it should smoothen up throughout the repetitions.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that if someone does more of a mobilization or a dynamic movement prior to these, then I put them in and it might be a little bit more comfortable to go through. And then seconding Dio's comment, it's homework. So players are going to be doing this at home throughout the day or like before bed in some sort of body renormalization or relaxation type of time that they would choose to do that. So part of their pre-routine with mobility, and then also some homework stuff to not be always doing that with us. And then I wanted to just give some insight on what we see at Austin Tennis Academy is a lot of times players will come in with these complaints of these maybe nerve compression issues or these restricted new deep pain issues after that they're trying a new technique or they're changing something. And Mike brought this up with changing surfaces where someone might be trying to hit a heavier, more shaped ball on the clay court instead of driving through. But if they're a hard court player, that's going to be a very big difference on their hip complex, their rotation, their shoulder, elbow, and wrist. So many times when someone's maybe changing grip or new technique, learning to be more pronation on their serve, they're going to be showing some signs of that elbow or wrist issue, which could be stemming from compression in the area of that nerve. So that's when I mostly see it with our players is a new technique or change, as Mike was talking about, and deal with the grip and everything. So it's good information or feedback for everyone. If you're working on something on your game, whichever level, and you notice this newfound discomfort of unknown origin, it could be just the body being a little bit compressed in that new way, and these neural mobilizations maybe help that.
And remember, like a quick reminder for everyone: every time we're working with the body, especially in this case with nerve, well, think about hydration, because water and electricity, it's going to be a faster message going there. So hydration is really important when we're dealing with these little things, right? So it's like it's life what you want to bring to it. And also, one last thing is use this movement, like I always do it, as an assessment. So every single movement is an assessment. You get to know your people as they move through different things, and then collect that information, and then create your program and move from there. So,
cool.
Thank you, Mike, for the question.
I think, sorry, I think you. Sorry, I think you guys point as well in terms of new techniques. In terms of the coaches that we have at Soto, the tennis coaches are great. When tennis coaches, go on to work on a new technique or work on a new grip or something like that, it's in their nature to want to drill that quite a bit as well. So it brings up that big thing of communication between fitness and tennis coaches as well, in how much they do with this, and us looking after the players' bodies in and around these new technical changes and things as well, which I know it brings up a totally different subject, but the relationship, and any tennis coaches that are watching this are obviously already bought into that a little bit in terms of how important that fitness side is, but listening to the fitness coaches in terms of how much load and how quickly we do these things, because like Josh was saying, just getting a little bit more pronation on that serve might seem like a very small change, but if we're doing that for 20, 50, 100 repetitions, it becomes a lot of a lot of load on smaller tissues within the body, nerves in particular, and we do get that. We do either get that pinch, that sensation that something feels a little bit off. So I think that becomes a massive part of any fitness program, any tennis program is that communication between tennis coaches and fitness coaches as well. So I just think it opens up a bit of a can of worms when we talk about things like that, but I think it's really important to address those things. So.
Yeah. Cool. All right. As always, you know, we can keep going and going, but we got to move on to strength with Mike. So that's all I have for you right now. Come back next week and bring a little more. So, Mike.
Hey guys, it's funny with the image that we've just shown of somebody doing or two people doing a single arm push-up is quite relevant today because we're going through push-ups. The video that's being played is almost where I want to end today's conversation. So a lot of people program push-ups, a lot of people do push-ups, whether that's in a tennis program, whether that's in a generic fitness program. And a lot of the time they aren't done correctly. And I think if you asked anybody walking by on the street that didn't have much of a knowledge of exercise and strength and conditioning and fitness, ask them to name an exercise, push-ups would be up there in terms of an exercise that everybody seems to know. But just because people know the exercise, it doesn't mean it's one that's executed well all the time. And I think in terms of progressions, people see others doing full push-ups and think, well, right, I'm going to do it like that. But that's almost the end goal in terms of strengthening of a push-up. I know we can add external load, we can slow the repetitions down, but I think in terms of what the push-up is, people usually start off at a bit of an advanced level as opposed to just going in there, learning the technique. And there's lots of different things that we do at Soto, and there's lots of different things that you can do at home to try and build up to that push-up position. And I think it's all about working at where you are currently and having a bit of a phased progression to then take you into either the full push-up or a little bit of an insight into what Josh is doing, but more powerful versions of push-ups. But we need to nail this technique down first. I wanted to take the time, unless the boys have got anything to say, just to show a couple of progressions and regressions on that exercise as well. What do you guys think?
I'd say go for it, Mike. I mean, we can talk more power section and other things and what you show, but yeah, that'd be good to see different pieces of it for sure.
So one thing from my point of view is I rarely see people go from a kneeling push-up, which is what we call a kneeling push-up, a half push-up. I'll show you that now. Straight to a full push-up. There is a big difference between a kneeling push-up and then a full push-up. So if I move back, the kneeling push-up, all we tell people, onto the knees, we want to try and get that straight line through the knees, the hips and the shoulders. So we just drop our hips down, hands onto the floor, and then we just drop down and then push back up. And in terms of an easier version of a push-up, it works. It's an option. But to go from this and then feel comfortable coming into this position, I think the gap's generally too big. So what we try and do at Soto, there's a few things that you can do. We use strength bands. So if somebody's able to do 12, 15 repetitions of a kneeling push-up with control, then instead of pushing them straight onto the full push-up, we would do a banded push-up. It's difficult for me to show you at the minute because I don't have a partner. But if you can imagine if I'm in that push-up position, I can go band around my hips, or I can go band around my chest. And in that position, as I'm on the floor, go into that position. If somebody's pulling the band here, or in a safe way, you can attach it to a weight frame or something like that as well. So like a squat rack or something, you can attach it to. This then, obviously, as you go down, the band stretches. As you come back up, the band wants to return to its normal length. So then it assists you and takes a little bit of your body weight away. So we see some really good results from using the bands. If you don't have access to the bands or you're by yourself, what I would do is what I do with a lot of exercises to start off with. It's a great way to learn technique, and it's also a great way to develop strength to then build up into tougher exercises or more advanced version of that exercise. Would be we call it the no push-up. So it's basically going into a push-up style position, but you're not actually pushing yourself up off the floor. All we want to do is lower to the floor with control. You can still develop a good bit of strength there. And then you go onto your knees, push yourself back up, and then lower down again. So from that push-up position, you just go up onto your toes, lower yourself down, all the way down, relax, push up onto the knees, back up onto the toes, lower yourself down. And then,
I love that one.
And then from there, obviously I did maybe 2 or 3 seconds, but in terms of progressing somebody on to do a good push-up, a good quality push-up, I would say you probably need to be able to lower through with control for around about 5 to 10 seconds for multiple reps. So if we do that for 1 or 2 repetitions, it's good, but then just trying to build up that volume as well. Do you guys want to jump in at any point? Is there anything you want to pick up on?
That's actually really cool at the end when you did, what we call the eccentric contraction, which is actually when people gain the most strength. It's huge, and for the coaches out there, it's, going the opposite. It's hard to explain eccentric contraction, but it's like, what he was doing with going slow to the floor. That's what we're talking about. You can do the same thing for pull-ups and many other stuff. So great information there for push-ups that we did like 1,000 variations of it. One right there, it actually is really cool because it can build your athlete to a different level and you might not be even aware of. That right there, I think is a huge key for the pushing pattern. And that's exactly what it is. Many people might say, oh, just the push-up. Well, just the push-up, is the pushing pattern that helps you play the game better. You might not have that many shots where you're on the floor and you got to push away, but you also do other movements like throwing, serving, and you're also pushing forward as you go. So all these things help, that's great info.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts rushing right now in my head.
Yeah.
So Mike, that one where you showed with the band, I do that one all the time with younger players that aren't able to be stable enough in a regular push-up. And this is giving them the mind, the sense that like a lot of people are like, these are hard, or push-ups are hard, or I can't go all the way down and up. And this gives a sense of this is challenging, but I'm able to complete these repetitions in full range of motion. So it's very powerful for the mind. And something that I want everyone to understand from a push-up perspective is this is not an upper body chest arm exercise. This is a full body stability exercise and control exercise with the emphasis on that chest or pushing pattern. Meaning if you're not stable or strong enough, you might just push only from your arms, and that's going to cause a lot of that shoulder or that head dropping, so kind of that neck tension, and even in the lower back. So what you're doing in a push-up, it's really allowing force to go through the front side of your body without arching your back or extending. So that would be like hitting a serve or a ground stroke without falling backwards and arching and losing posture and control. So it's not just let me get my chest stronger. So that it's a huge movement. And Mike, to add to your banded one, what I like to do sometimes with players to teach them that core stiffness or maintaining posture is as players are going down into this push-up, that band that Mike was holding, I'll take that band and I'll be yanking it up and left and right. And what that's doing is it's taking their hips and it's forcing their hips to be pulled out of alignment. And they have to stay strong and stable as an external force is being pulled on them. So you're getting stability, you're getting that eccentric control, and it's forcing proper activation in core and hips and alignment, and has big dividends to be able to go into that standard push-up. I love that one a lot. I'm really glad you showed that with the band, and the eccentric lowering slowly, just as important. Keeping your body straight and stable, not extending. Really cool.
I think with any exercise, I know we're talking about push-ups at the moment, but with any exercise, and we touched on this last week. I did mention it last week in terms of like being a master at the basics. You know, and like I said, a push-up is an exercise that everybody's familiar with, but to be able to do it with quality. So instead of saying like, oh, I can do 70 push-ups, but you're actually not doing one of those push-ups very well, isn't where you want to be. You're better off doing 6 push-ups with a 5-second eccentric, which we're talking about is that lowering portion, and then controlling it back on the way up. So, and again, just to hit on what Josh was saying, that the stability through the middle of the body as well. And then, like adding external resistance in terms of bands, anything like that, you can progress them too. But I think in terms of getting to that push-up position is not trying to be somebody else that you've seen online. So this person can do this many push-ups, this person did this challenge. It's where am I at and what do I need to do? I think in terms of shoulder injuries with tennis players as well, and sometimes they don't want to do these things, or push-ups hurt me. It's like, well, should they hurt you? Or is that the push-ups fault, or is that the way you've been doing them? Or is it because you're not strong enough in that position? So I think it then opens up questions in terms of technique with push-ups is, again, something that we could spend an hour on. So I'm just going to quickly go back and show you again. So like Josh was saying, in terms of it being a full body movement, our start position, we want a nice straight line through the body. What we sometimes see is that bum coming up, or this arch in the back as we go down here. And then also a really simple thing, but a thing that can lead to impingements in the shoulder is hand position and then elbow position. We see a lot of people who want to do push-ups here, and they go down, and in terms of how your shoulder wants to function, so as you move, the shoulder wants to rotate up and out, and you can only do that if you set your hands and elbows and shoulders in the right position. As soon as you take your elbows up here at the top and then try and go down, you're then compressing a lot of things. So I would say technique, and then starting at an easier level than you think you are. You can still improve at 80% of your maximum. You don't need to go to failure every time you train. And working the technique and grooving the technique is a massive thing in terms of building the push-up.
Yeah. This is amazing, all the things that we can do. And just a reminder for the coaches and even the athletes out there, where don't be afraid to go through the progressions of the exercise. You know, like Mike was saying about the form. You can do 70 push-ups with bad form, and just one the right way, usually the first one. So these are really important to take people through progressions and build strength, right? And real quick, if someone got like wrist pain, which I see a lot when they do push-ups, sometimes putting a dumbbell, in there might ease the load on the wrist. But again, we can go on and on and on with so many things you can do, but that's one thing. So
yeah, I think just to jump into that as well is, so like Dio was saying, having something. So I use my bottle of water. So obviously in a normal push-up, we're going to be hand flat on the floor. So in terms of tennis players, wrist issues are again commonplace. It's one of the key areas for a tennis player to suffer some serious injuries, but a lot of like niggly type injuries. To then be able to hold obviously a dumbbell, a little bit of a thinner position than this would just keep that straight line through the wrist. And I think if a tennis player isn't able to get into that position, it also doesn't mean that they will never be able to get into that position. I think using dumbbells to train the exercise, but I think at the same time working on wrist mobility, wrist stability, going through some wrist mobility exercises, strengthening exercises, whilst you're building that push-up on the handles is again something that you can build on and develop whilst you're still developing that push-up technique.
Yeah.
Do you guys?
I have one.
Yes, Josh.
So, full disclosure here is when I was 22 or 23 years old, trying to compete, play competitive tennis still, I viewed push-ups as just a strength exercise for your arms or chest. So that's how I performed them, through the shoulders, through the chest, just kind of pumping them out here, understanding nothing about core stability, hip alignment, the activation of the whole trunk moving as a unit. So when I actually started my first training program for tennis, I started on kneeling push-ups. And I'm 22, 23 years old, and I played college tennis and competitive tennis. I can do a push-up, right? So, but doing 8 to 10 reps of kneeling push-ups with full range of motion, with control over your core, with activating the shoulders in the right way, and going slow down and feeling ownership of each position of this push-up. I mean, it was what I needed. It was very difficult for me because I never understood how to control that center and the hips and work together as a unit. So that's just, I mean, just full disclosure, 23-year-old competitive athlete, man, I was on my knees doing push-ups to improve that pattern so I could then soon understand how to connect larger patterns like the standard push-up you were showing, Mike, and even up into more functional in the sense of movement patterns. But if you have no control over the center and hips, it's going to be very difficult to put that in a dynamic and moving environment for sure. So,
yeah, I think taking ego out of training is sometimes difficult, but it's necessary to make improvements. So yeah, it wouldn't have done your ego much good to go to a kneeling push-up, but it did your shoulders, body control a lot of good. So it's something that we all have to do from time to time, regress to then progress even further. Nice work, boys. Shall we move on to some power work?
Let's do it.
Yeah, speaking of push-ups. All right, so power movement, we're going to be building off of that push-up pattern. So I'm going to show in these videos an explosive push-up, and I want to show some ways how you can still get the benefit of it without having to maybe do the explosive part of it. So this would be understood that you have already built the prerequisite of trunk and core stability and control. You've already mastered the kneeling push-up. You have already mastered
there we go.
You've already mastered the standard push-up that Mike was showing. So I'm showing 2 here because if you're progressing first to power from a push-up pattern, you should probably be starting from the knees, which is the second maybe. I show a traditional push-up here, and exhaling on every exertion of force. So exhaling like you're hitting a shot, hitting a serve. So push-up pattern explosive, and then push-up pattern explosive from the knees. And starting from the knees is what I would suggest if you were just building up that regular push-up pattern. So I do want to show a few things, unless the guys want to speak to something prior to that. But
Oh, well,
any thoughts,
No,
guys?
Josh.
warning, for because I know a lot of people are gonna go straight and do this, so you gotta make sure that you're qualified to do these movements. If you go into Mike's presentation and just the normal push-up, um, then jumping into this, like Coach Rifkin was talking about, is a good thing to do. And of course, I have to remind people because many people ask me coaches, they're going to go straight to it. And, as we always say, there are many variations, but be careful. So,
So I'll show a few things now. So the first thing I want to talk about is are you able to do more of an explosive standing up pushing pattern or an explosive push up? And I want to talk about a screen you can do, a self screen. It's taken from functional movement systems, so it's a trunk stability push up. So men, guys, you should be able to do a push up with the thumbs in line with your armpits and up by minimum standards your nose. So your thumbs are in line with your nose and elbows up and squeezing, and being able to control your trunk, doing a full push up as one unit in line with your knees. Girls or women, you can be down by your collarbone or your clavicle and be able to do the same thing. But a lot of people, what this is doing is putting force through your trunk. And if you don't have the requisite stability in your trunk or core, you'll get a disconnected movement, meaning I'm moving from my shoulders first and then going up, or you'll just get not being able to complete it. That's just the strength issue, or you'll get a push up where that back arches big time. So being able to do that screen for can you be doing more of that explosive force through the front of your body and still stay protected? So I'm doing that with everyone prior to being able to do a forceful explosive push-up for sure, plus mastering the Mike's videos. So two things, let's say you have trunk stability, but it's a little shaky or the strength just isn't there. So building off of kind of what Mike was doing, there's called the drop push-up. So a drop push-up, I'm going to start from the knees. As I'm in that push-up position, and I'm going to literally act as if the floor was removed from my hands. And I'm going to fall down and catch myself staying stable so my back's not going to be arching. So knees, drop and hold. Knees, drop and hold. So that's putting the huge stretch on the chest muscles, getting all the openness so it's ready to fire and exert force, which would be from that explosive push-up or pulling the arm back to get ready to hit a ground stroke or whatever shot in tennis. And then the second piece of that would be what's called a dead stop push-up. So it's kind of like that stability screen I just showed. I'm going to be in a regular push-up position and I'm starting on the ground. Dead stop meaning I'm not using any of the stretch in my muscle, no momentum. So let's say I'm able to clear the trunk stability. I can now just start on the ground, arms are slightly up. I'm going to push through the floor. And then I just get that full push up from a dead stop, non-momentum position. So piecing together a drop push up, maybe for a set, and then going into that dead stop push up is a way I would piece these two together to be able to do more of that explosive push up where you're absorbing the force and then reversing it, absorbing the force and then reversing it.
man, I wish I had all this information when I was a kid. It can save you from so many things. And again, variations big time. So this is awesome.
I think the drop push-up is essentially, if anybody was watching in week number 1, essentially what we went through with the tall to short or the cowboy exercise. So it's exactly the same principles. You're just dropping and then trying to absorb that force. At the same time, on this one though, like Josh was saying, in terms of that ability to maintain position and strength through the hips and the core, it's huge, because we would see these things off court in the gym environment, but we could almost predict that we would see them in the gym environment from watching somebody on court as well. So these things are so closely linked. When somebody's on court, they may lose that core position when they serve, when they're pushed out wide, when they're going through certain shots. And it's something that we can take into the gym and try and look at it and talk to the athletes about it and try and develop these qualities within their body and within their strength.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to add one little thing real quick. For people that go through frustrations when they're trying to do things like this, and they go, Coach, I just can't. Coach, I just can't. Many times what improve the strength of your pushing pattern, which are all these two from Mike and Josh, is your rotator cuff. If you have a strong rotator, many times when you cannot do pushing pattern the right way, it's your body protecting you from something else, from keeping that ball in the socket. So bringing some security into the socket by doing some normal, boring, I know, external rotations and internal rotations, you can benefit yourself or your athletes to do this the right way. And again, don't rush. There are variations to it. So keep watching a fitness aces so you learn something.
Yeah, that's massively important, and that's for any type of like pattern movement, right? It's like, how does the stabilizer? The body's not going to take you in a place that it's not comfortable or it's a risk of injuring. So stabilizing rotator cuff or scapula or core and hips and whatever those areas are to complete movements. Like I have one of my tennis athletes I've been training for many years. She came to me yesterday. She's like, she's over 6 feet tall, never been able to do a pull-up, never been able to do a pull-up, never been able to do a pull-up. I can't do a pull-up. So I've given her scapular work, so like that rotator cuff. So just small things to help stabilize the scapula. That's actually going to be part of that first movement of activation in the pull-up pattern. And after not trying to do pull-ups in a while of just doing that stability boring work, she almost did 2 full pull-ups yesterday.
That's awesome.
Yesterday or the day before. So it's like she was so excited about that, and she didn't do the pull-up. But to Dio's point, protecting the joints and stabilizing will allow more activation of the whole movement that you're trying to accomplish. So that was just a tangent there, but really important, injury prevention and also improving the movement pattern. And I do want to show one progression. You've mastered trunk stability. You're able to do explosive push-ups. You've been doing them for a while. You want to still increase the power on your ground strokes or anything in the pushing pattern. And this is best done with a partner. You could try it with a wall, but you're going to have to get used to the timing. And it would be, see if you can see me, it would be a medicine ball here. And let's say you guys are my partner. I'm going to, as I fall forward, I'm going to explosively press out a medicine ball, absorb my explosive push-up and push back up, and then catch the med ball again. And then I would do my rep scheme with that. So it would be here, push, absorb, come up, catch the ball, push, absorb, catch the ball, push, and absorb. And I'm doing it on my knees right now, and that's going to be really isolating upper body power. And you could even get more forehand pattern. So it would be like, have the medicine ball, rotate my torso, and I'm going to shot put this medicine ball, forehand, backhand.
There you go.
But you've got to be able to do the explosive push-ups prior to adding more of that open chain environment we see on the tennis court. That would be like the top in which I try to get someone with explosive push-up relating to forceful power using their ground strokes or serves. You can even go overhead throw and then absorb the push-up. So whatever pattern you're trying to work on, but that would be the most advanced version of that type of work. And passing with a partner coming back. You can try it with a wall at home with like a basketball, but the timing, it might hit you in the head a few times, but the timing of that ball coming back, I would need a partner for sure.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on that? Power?
Well, just going from that, I think everybody watching, you've definitely got something to work on in terms of that upper body pushing pattern, that push-up pattern. So you've got anywhere from that kneeling push-up or that eccentric push-up that I showed, all the way through to those medicine ball variations that Josh was just going through. And you will fall at one end of the scale, or you will fall in the middle of the scale. Finding your place, finding what you need to work on, and developing that with good quality is where we need to be. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great stuff, Josh.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all for the power then. But guys,
Yeah.
that was awesome. Thanks everyone for watching and tuning in. And yeah, I mean, I hope you guys get something out of it. Feel free to reach out if there's questions. And yeah, we're back every week.
Yeah, for sure. Great information. Again, I wish I had this when I was a little kid. So a lot of thoughts into this and work, and this is just like a little piece of it. So, guess we'll see you next week with some cooler information as we move forward.
And remember, guys, if you want, you can rewatch this video. You can catch up on this video on demand on the Tennis 2020 YouTube channel, or you can also get it on the Soto Tennis Academy and the Austin Tennis Academy Facebook pages. So make sure you check it out, or you can actually watch episodes 1 and episodes 2 there as well. So no excuses.
Cool. Awesome, guys. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
See you next week, guys. Thank you very much.